The Curse of Oak Island. The team takes a surprise fifth shot at finding treasure at the Money Pit. This week on The Curse of Oak Island, Rick Lagina shocked everyone by announcing there would be a fifth caisson placed at the Money Pit in yet another Season 9 attempt to locate the chapel vault. This announcement came on the back of a crushing disappointment when the fourth shaft, DMT2, ended in failure. This was a super exciting episode with the drama ramped up to the max. It really felt like the guys were getting closer and closer to the treasure with each hammer grab. And that's why it was so frustrating when it suddenly ended in disappointment. However, this disappointment did not last long. The episode began with Gary Drayton's usual chirpy attitude. "This is the day we find the treasure," he said for the umpteenth time this season. But any cynicism started melting away once the drilling reached the 150-foot mark. The chapel vault is thought to be at the 153-feet point, and as they neared that mark, they suddenly began finding really old axe-cut wood. They also came across clay, a substance William Chappell's men came across in 1931 just before they pierced the vault. Oak Island's Shaft 4 ended empty-handed at the Money Pit. The excitement started building with each scoop of dirt as the guys prepared to finally hit the vault. Suddenly, the drill hit a void and began rapidly descending. Then, worse news, the drill struck bedrock, meaning it was game over. Viewers had been told this would be the last shot at the Money Pit for this season. However, Rick Lagina had a nice, albeit somewhat shocking, surprise for everyone. The drilling had proceeded faster than expected, and the guys still have a few more weeks on the island before winter sets in, which means they have the time and the money for a fifth shaft and another go at finding the vault. All that was left was to decide where to put shaft number 5. It was promptly agreed without any argument that the new dig location would be just 1 foot to the north of the old C1 shaft and almost directly above the old B4 borehole. The honor of naming the new shaft fell to Scott Barlow, who christened it B4C after the B4 borehole with an added C for caisson. Marty Lagina joked, "So it's the hole we dug just before we found the treasure." New fifth shaft in area of Money Pit with high level of gold and silver. As Jack Begley detailed the reasons why the C1 spot would make a suitable location, viewers may be forgiven for wondering why on earth they hadn't placed a caisson there before now. This area of the Money Pit saw the highest concentration of gold and silver in the underground water following Dr. Spooner's tests. They've also found pieces of metal with fragments of gold, and they've uncovered wood dating all the way back to the 15th century. It's likely the Fellowship was put off this location because they have already dug 2 10-diameter shafts on either side of C1. TF1 and EC1 were dug in 2017 and 2020, respectively, and frankly, they spectacularly failed to reveal any treasure-laden vaults. However, there's still plenty of unexplored earth down there, so fingers crossed. The new shaft will be placed just a few feet to the north of C1 and the 2 other old shafts. Unless there are some really extraordinary circumstances, this will definitely be the guys' final shot this season at finding the Money Pit. The Fellowship of the Day have once again shown off their resilience and never-say-die attitude. They are absolutely determined to find the Oak Island treasure and are prepared to push themselves to the limits to get it. The winds of change held through Oak Island as autumn descended on Nova Scotia. After seasons of painstaking research, tantalizing clues, and heart-wrenching dead ends, the Lagina brothers and their dedicated fellowship of treasure hunters stood once again before the Money Pit. But this time, something felt different. As the sun cast a golden hue over the island, Rick Lagina gazed thoughtfully over the rig-lined clearing that had become the epicenter of centuries of obsession. "We've drilled 4 times and each effort brought us closer to something," Rick murmured, almost to himself. "It's time for a 5th. 1 more shot. Maybe the shot." Marty, ever the pragmatist and voice of reason, nodded slowly. "We've chased theories across the globe. Templars, Spanish galleons, Masonic secrets, even Shakespearean codes. But the data we have now, the seismic readings, the core samples, it all points right here." The team had debated all night. The latest ground-penetrating radar revealed something astounding. A symmetrical anomaly buried deep beneath the Earth at 176 feet, far below previous drill attempts. Geophysicist Terry Matheson had called it the most promising target we've ever seen. Denser than natural stone, rectangular, and most important of all, not disturbed by previous digs. It was this discovery that led them to dub the new attempt Borehole X5, a 5th strike, deep, precise, and loaded with the team's highest hopes yet. The drill begins. At sunrise, the crew assembled. Crate Tester manned the technical station with the composure of a seasoned engineer, monitoring every vibration, every pressure reading. Jack Begley, bursting with energy, stood by ready to analyze any spoils from the drill. Charles Barkhouse, the island's resident historian, clutched a century-old map with one trembling hand and a cup of black coffee in the other. "We're going in," Marty declared over the walkie-talkie. The drill roared to life, sending its mechanical bite deep into the mysterious depths of Oak Island. The whine of steel on soil echoed across the clearing, the rhythmic thumping as hypnotic as a heartbeat. 30 feet, 50, 75. Suddenly, the drilling slowed, struggling against a dense resistance. "Hold on," Craig said, eyes fixed on the pressure gauges. "That's not bedrock, that's something else." Jack leaned over, excitement sparking in his eyes. Could be wood. Could be a chamber wall. At 90 feet, a core sample was extracted. As the team gathered around, Rick held the tube like a relic. Carefully, he pulled out the contents, and the crowd let out a collective gasp. Timbers, clearly cut, square-edged, aged but remarkably preserved. "They're not modern," Charles said after a closer inspection. "Hand-hewn, could be 1700s, maybe earlier." But the real shock came at 160 feet. As the drill pushed past the known debris field of past digs, it struck something hollow. "It's an air pocket," Craig announced. "We might have hit a void, a chamber." A second core sample confirmed it. Beneath the dense layer of soil was a pocket of open space lined with more wood, this time blackened and brittle. Then came the surprise that sent shockwaves through the camp. From the third core, pulled at 176 feet, Jack removed something wrapped in decayed canvas. Carefully unfolding it, he uncovered what looked like an ornate hinge, bronze, maybe gold-plated, with a strange sigil engraved in its center. Doug Krull stepped forward, examining the artifact. "That's not British, not French either. Look at this symbol. It's similar to the Knights Templar seal we saw in Portugal. 2 riders on 1 horse." The air seemed to still. "Is it possible," Rick whispered, "that we're not just chasing stories, but we're standing on their final vault? A race against time." Despite the thrill, there was tension. With winter approaching and storms threatening to shut down operations, the team had only a narrow window to continue exploring the void. "We need to lower a camera into the cavity," Marty ordered, "before water or collapse ruins the find." With surgical precision, the crew lowered a borehole cam through the shaft. At first, only darkness. Then flickers of warped reflections. Suddenly, the view cleared, and what they saw left them speechless. A stone wall, then another. The camera panned and caught sight of a corner, perfectly angled. Then an object. Box-shaped, bound in metal strips, coated in centuries of grime. It sat upon a stone dais, partially submerged in black muck. The whole chamber looked deliberately constructed, like a subterranean sanctum built to endure the test of time. "There's something written on the stones," Jack said breathlessly. "It's Latin," Charles confirmed. "Veritas liberabit vos. The truth will set you free." A break in the curse. As the camera panned out and the fee flickered, Rick stepped back and wiped a hand across his face. "We may be the first to see that chamber since it was sealed," he said quietly. "And if that box is what I think it is—" Marty didn't let him finish. "We need permits. We need reinforcement. But more than anything, we need to be careful. We've come too far to mess this up now." What followed was a flurry of action. Specialists were flown in. Plans were drawn to expand the borehole into a safe excavation shaft. Meanwhile, the rest of the team continued analyzing the artifact found in the core, its composition, origin, and markings. The hinge alone could rewrite parts of history. But it wasn't just about gold or relics anymore. It was about what the chamber symbolized. The realization that maybe, just maybe, the legends were true. That the money pit was not a trap or a myth or an elaborate prank, but a vault. A vault with purpose, with secrets, with treasure. The journey continues. Though the 5th attempt had only just scratched the surface, the team's spirit had never burned brighter. This wasn't just another hole. It was the hole, the one that might lead to the very heart of Oak Island's centuries-old mystery. As the light faded and the team packed up for the night, Rick looked once more toward the pit, the chamber now mapped in his mind.